Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Good Morning Advent on this new week, beginning the third week of Advent, or is it the second week? I think it's the second week. Um, Beginning our Advent devotion this morning with the word strength and a reading from Isaiah. Do not fear, I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. God's word of hope and strength to the exiles. If you have noticed, I am not live this morning. I have recorded this devotion the night before, and hopefully if all works well, it would be posted on our church Facebook page at the correct time. But I have to give myself a break, right? Part of being strong, of having strength, is knowing when to say enough, knowing when to say, you know what? In order to be strong, I need to rest. I can't do it all. We human beings are incredibly resilient, and that's one of the things that has really been shown in these months, months and months and months since COVID hit. We are a resilient people, God's people of faith. I see that every time you show up for worship, every time you respond to our worship video, our posts, that you're keeping the faith, so to speak. But we have limits, right? We have limits, and when we reach them, it's time to rest, like I'm going to do on my day off. We don't have to be strong all the time. Okay, hear that again. You don't have to be strong all the time, and it is okay to say, I can't do it. I need to rest. I see these Facebook posts about just keeping going, keeping going, keeping going. And somehow that makes us like special. I admire the resiliency of our medical personnel these days. And sometimes you do have to keep going. And sometimes you are certainly not strong, and yet we're asked to keep going. Those things happen. And it's also okay. You finally get a break to say, I'm not strong. I don't know how I keep doing this. God's got you. But we don't have to be strong all the time. To push ourselves too hard makes us cranky. It can make us sick. It can create tensions in our relationships with one another and cause us to think that we are inadequate, when in reality, we're just worn out. When we insist on doing it all, we also create distance between God and us. Right? We think we have to do it all. What is it we think God's going to do for us then? Our strength comes from knowing our limits. The kind of strength God gives us is a strength of heart and soul and mind that depends on God's faithfulness, not ours. Okay, the strength God gives us depends first of all on God's faithfulness, not ours. God's promise in Emmanuel, in Jesus, to be God with us and for us. When we're willing to admit our fears, our failures, our vulnerabilities and exhaustion, feelings of inadequacy, our exhaustion and emptiness, and know these things have nothing to do with our worth as human beings. When we are willing to say to God and to everyone, I can't do this alone. I'm not strong enough. Then, real strength, God's strength, finally has a chance to refresh us, finally has a way in our admitting that we can't do everything on our own. Then finally God has our attention for us to receive God's self and God's grace, God's strength that will see us through the darkest valleys, the longest days, the hardest days. It takes more energy these days to do everything, especially during the holidays. So don't be afraid to say, right now I just don't have strength for the next step. It's okay. Rest, breathe. God's presence is your strength, and Emmanuel, the light for your next step. Blessings, dear ones, on the day after the storm. Be careful if you are going out, it's slippery. And we will see you tomorrow with the next Advent word. God bless you and keep you this day and always.